everybody. This is Mike McIlvoy welcoming you to this episode of Oklahoma Eats. Several weeks ago, it was suggested to us that maybe we could put together a series about restaurants where we ate whenever we were much younger. So today, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to head to Del City, from which I came. So we're going to check out the restaurants and see what they were like back in the late 1960s and 70s, and we're on our way to Del City. So hold on, here we go. As I was saying, I grew up in Del City. I graduated from Del City High School in 1970 at the age of 7 or maybe 18, whatever. But I thought it might be interesting to visit the places that we ate when I was much younger. And so that's what we're going to be doing. We had an open campus here at the high school, but we had 35 minutes to eat. And many of us, particularly we sophomores, we couldn't drive. So we had to walk, and where we ate lunch was wherever we could walk to and from in 35 minutes. So what we would do is we would head in a northerly fashion, and we'd end up at these restaurants that are down at 15th and Sunny Lane, and that's what we're going to go check out now. Well, what I'm finding out is things have certainly changed up here. As you can see the flashing light of the high school, we could walk down here and we could go to that Sonic that's located right there, 1700 South Sunny Lane. That Sonic had just opened up because we had a teacher over at Delcrest, our shop teacher, who decided that he wasn't making enough money in education. He was going to open up a Sonic. So the first Sonic that opened up in Del City was that one right there. So we could come down and we could eat at Sonic. Now the problem was, at the Sonic we had a bunch of seniors that were in cars that didn't like we sophomores, well, us sophomores, coming down and ordering our food because that made theirs slower to get out. So we kind of became moving targets as we would walk back and forth to high school. Under the water tower across the street where they have this new building, there was a drive-in called Eddie's, and we could go across there, and the hamburgers, it would take them a little bit longer to make the hamburger, and you needed to be in a bit of a hurry. But so you'd usually just get some type of a sandwich that they could throw together real quick, or maybe French fries and a Coke, and then you'd leave. Now if you were in a big hurry, back over here to the north in that building that's white with the black trim, that was a 7-Eleven, and we could go into that 7-Eleven and we could get the 16-ounce Pepsi or Coke and a candy bar. And if we were in a big hurry, we could pick that up and we could get back to the school and we could eat it as we were going. Now, if we had, later on, they built a Sparky's restaurant right down in that area. We're going to go see if we can figure out where it was, and we'll be back with you here in just a minute. Well, you're really going to have to use your imagination, because I knew the Sparky's had been torn down, but I didn't know what had been built in its place. We're located right across the street from the old Delcrest Shopping Center. We're on the northwest corner of 15th and Sunny Lane. And here in this parking lot, right there was an old Sparky's hamburger stand. And we could come down here and we could get a Sparky's hamburger for 19 cents. You could get French fries for 19 cents. Heck, if you had some extra money, they had a hamburger that was a little bit larger called a Super Sparky. And for a quarter, you could get it. Now, whenever we had a lot of money and we could splurge, we would go to the bowling alley, which is catty corner from here, over on the southeast corner of 15th and Sunny Lane. So we'll go over there and see if we can order some fried cheese. No fried cheese balls, it's but just a big old empty lot. Right behind the Middale Taco, that was Sunny Lane Bowling Alley. And for years and years and years, a guy by the name of Jack James came in the late 1950s and built the bowling alley, and the bowling leagues would go all day long, so they had a grill that would open up. And we finally discovered, after my dad was in a bowling league, we discovered that they had Harker's fried cheese balls, and if we at the high school wanted to splurge a little bit, we'd come down and get the cheese balls. We would need to let the people at the bowling alley know that we were going to be in there, because it would take them a while to fry those puppies up, because they put them in a deep fryer. But anyway, it was one of the great places. Now later on we were able to drive, and whenever we were able to drive, then we had our horizons broadened, and where we could go got a little bit better. And one of the places that we would travel was over on the back over there by Sparky's, but they opened up a restaurant that was called Burger Train, and so we're going to go check it out here real quick. Well, this is what's left of Burger Train. It was a drive-in restaurant, and what made it unusual, they had an eat-in place, but what made it unusual is, if you can see there where the bit of a semicircle is, that was where the actual dining room was located. And you might be able, if I get up here a little bit closer, you might be able to pick out how the parking lot of the drive-in was. It was a circle. It was a circle, and you would pull in to the drive-in bay, and you would order with the Ordermatics, just like you do at Sonic. But instead of a car hop coming out and bringing you your meal, they had conveyor belts. And on these conveyor belts, there was a basket that they called a train, and that is what would bring the food out to you. It was a big deal, because this was the farthest northwest that you would go whenever you were cruising Dale City. You'd come in that driveway, and you'd circle the place, and you'd completely go around it, and then you would come out this parking lot, and you'd make, or that driveway, and you'd make your left turn. Now, back in those days, we had Mr. Microphones or CB radio. We didn't have cell phones. We had CB radios, but they had PAs on them, public announce systems. So you'd put a speaker underneath the hood of your car, and you could go around and stay in your car and talk to the people as they were ordering. That probably made me a nerd, but there were several of us that did that. I have one more place that I want to show you. Whenever we had a car and we could drive, there was a donut shop up on 29th Street that some of us knew served really great hamburgers. So we're going to go up there, and I'm going to let you see where B&W Donut Shop was, and then we'll talk a little bit about what those burgers were. Then we'll kind of wrap this thing up. We're at the intersection of 29th and Epperly here in Dale City, and this used to be a built-up commercial area where you had a TG&Y store, you had a clothing store, there was a furniture store. Back over there was a hardware store, a drugstore, movie theater was just around the corner. Right around the corner was my dad's office. And at that period of time, through that door right there, was a restaurant called B&W Donut Shop. Great donuts, but at lunch, they would make a thing called a monster burger. And there were a few of us at the high school that knew that we could get down here, if we had a car, we could get down here, we could order a monster burger. If we were lucky, they had Day-O donuts left over, and we could get a cinnamon roll for a dime. And if I was real lucky, and some of my better memories around here, if I was real lucky, my dad's office was just around that corner right there, like I was talking, and he'd every once in a while would come over and have a monster burger. And if I happened to be here, then I didn't have to use my allowance money to buy my lunch, and I'd get a free meal. The monster burger was basically a very large bacon cheeseburger, but it had a special taste. And finally, before the Imes shut B&W Donut Shop down, they gave us the information as to what made their burgers a little special. And what they told us was that the patty itself was half beef and half pork sausage. And to this day, I crave a monster burger from B&W Donut Shop once in a while. And many of you may know that you can go to S&B Burger Shop here in the Oklahoma City area, and they have a patty that's half pork sausage and half beef, and you can kind of duplicate what we had back then. So that's where B&W Donut Shop was located. Great memories. I guess this shouldn't be much of a surprise, but as I travel up and down Southeast 29th Street, I realized there are an awful lot of changes in a lot of those restaurants where we ate back whenever I was a kid are long gone. I'm sitting here in the parking lot of the Walgreens at 29th and Sunny Lane, and the reason I am is because one of my earliest memories of Del City, there was an old dining car set right here, and that was where you went to eat if you were in Del City. The businesses are just down the street, so those workers would come over here and they'd have breakfast and they'd have lunch. And then in this dining car, the reason I'm doing this, in this dining car, a bunch of young people worked their way through high school, and those young people then ended up opening up their own restaurants. A guy by the name of Bob Chavez, who opened up Bob's 4B's restaurant, which we're going to go look at next, worked here. Don Moore and his brother Ron Moore. Don Moore with Don's Drive-In, Don's Alley, and Ron Moore with a lot of the Ron's Drive-In restaurants, he was the owner and manager of some Del Ranchos. They got their start here. So whenever you're eating the dressing down there at Don's that we'll be talking about later on, hey, the beginning of that started right here with this little diner. Well, we'll go down and see what Bob's restaurant looks like now. Bob's 4B's restaurant. Throughout the 1960s and early 70s, this was a location where you would come and have a chef salad or a hamburger. It's changed a great deal, and the owner of the building just came out and told me that he'd owned this building for over 50 years, so that tells us a lot about how maybe I've lost the track of time. We'll go back down 29th and see what we can find. Good news, folks. The Mandarin Chinese restaurant is still open on 29th Street in Del City. In the early 1980s, I had the good fortune of serving on the city council of the city of Del City. And just prior to that, Del City got into a contract to widen 29th Street to the current 5 lanes that it is now. Well, that was going to be very, very expensive for the city of Del City, and the city received a great deal of help from the county commissioners of Oklahoma County. So the county came out and did the work on this as well. Well, our county commissioner did us a great favor, saved us several $1 million, and those of us that served on the council were extremely appreciative. And the way that we showed our appreciation, the county commissioner absolutely loved eating lunch at the Mandarin. So those of us that were on the council, we would have the opportunity to invite Mr. Lynch to come down and eat at the Mandarin. And we had some great lunches there. They still have their special A and their special B. So if you're out not doing anything, the Mandarin's one of those places in Del City where you can come in and eat. It was the first of the Asian restaurants here in Del City. The original Dairy Queen, one of the Dunn's Dairy Queen, was in that lot right there, and they shut it down about 35 years ago. And then where we're going up here is Don's Alley. And Don's is a location that was open. Don Moore was one of the individuals. Hold on, guys, I gotta make a left turn. Don Moore was one of those individuals that opened up, that worked over at the diner, and then he came down here and opened up. Now, this was a drive-in, and as you can see, and that back there was not there because that was on the other side of the road. But the drive-in was here, and they had a very, very small dining room. And then Don Moore, about 40 or 50 years ago, tore all this down. Well, it would have been in the 1970s. Tore this down and built that, and he's still here today. and we actually came down here and ate last week, and the food was great. The chef salad and the Don's dressing is still as good as it always was. The onion rings were fantastic. Chicken fries great. The hamburgers are great. They have great pies. They are open for breakfast. So, and if you have any connections with Del City, you can come down, and it's like old home week. We saw people down here last Friday night that I probably hadn't seen in, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 years maybe. So we'll continue and see what else we can. I tell everybody that barrier around the sign is as a result of something that my mother did about 60 years ago. We were here at this location picking up some pizza, and my mom backed the car into that post for that sign. Did a little damage on the car. Nobody was hurt, everybody was fine, but by golly, the owners 60 years later, they still have that. And the reason I want to show you this building right here was built and it housed two individuals that we knew. There was a guy by the name of Delma Love that had Middale TV, and it was located there. And then the guy named Lefty Bennett came in and opened a pizza restaurant right there, and they were here for probably 10 years, and then they moved across the street. So we'll go see the new building for Lefty's Pizza, and we'll talk. Good news, I avoided the poles, and now we are at the intersection of 29th and Vicky, and right there on the other side of the Jackson Hewitt and where the Mattress Mart is the location where Lefty Bennett put in his restaurant, and it was called Lefty's Barbecue, and we're going to go over there real quick. Actually, it was called Lefty's Pizza, and the reason I mentioned the barbecue, whenever I was a kid, I didn't really like cheese, and Lefty had both sides of this, and so what he would do is he not only had the pizza, but he also had great barbecue. It was the best barbecue in Del City at the time. So my folks would come up to have their pizza, and I would have the barbecue. Now later on, before Lefty shut down, I became a great fan of the pepperoni and onion pizza that Lefty put together. You'll notice two doors, and the reason for that was he served beer over on this side and did not serve beer there. And then in between, he had a glassed-in room where you could watch him make the pizza and things of that nature. Good old memories. That's Lefty's Pizza in Del City. I couldn't leave Del City without pointing out a couple of places that either are or is still one of my favorites or was one of my favorites. So we're going to drive by a couple of places now and talk a little bit about them. Canton Palace is an Asian food restaurant that opened up about 40 years ago, a little after the Mandarin. Related, I think, maybe cousins, something like that. But whenever I'm hungry for Chinese food in Norman, we'll get in the car and we'll head up here and we'll eat at Canton. Their lunch specials are fantastic. It's the same decor as it was whenever I was a kid. So once again, memory. And then I feel that it is absolutely incumbent upon me to point out what I consider to be the finest restaurant to have ever been in the city of Del City. Okay, this is it, folks. In 1954, a guy opened up a restaurant called Shakey's Pizza, and in 1963, they came out down here and they opened up in Del City. Well, Shakey's were famous for their pizzas. They opened up the window so you could watch them prepare the pizza. They later on had fried chicken and mojo potatoes, a player piano, and eventually Shakey's left, but an individual from Midwest City took this over, opened it up as Roundup Pizza, and it was probably one of my favorite places to eat until about a year ago when a fire messed up the back side of that thing. It's hard to visualize Del City not having Roundup Pizza, because it was some of the best fried chicken I'd ever had. And Roundup Pizza had a little bit of notoriety because they had actually gotten Del City on, placed Del City on the maps of the Food Channel, as the Food Channel came in and did a special on the Roundup Pizza. I hope you've enjoyed what we've tried to do today. It's been nostalgic. It's been a lot of fun, and we've talked about a lot of things that I hadn't thought about for many, many years. Hey, if you have any suggestions for our future episodes, please contact me at mikemcilvoy@gmail.com. Thanks again to Scott Wright for doing all the tech stuff, and thank you for watching. And until next time, this is Mike McIlvoy asking you to have such a great life that when somebody asks you how your day is going, you're able to say, fantastic. Goodbye, everybody.